You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
No, there's no confusion. I had a cup of coffee, I had $200 bills, and now I have one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Hacking Humans podcast, an occasional series we call Hacking Humans Goes to the Movies. I'm Dave Bittner, and joining me is my CyberWire colleague, Rick Howard. Hello, Rick.
Hey, Dave.
On this show, Rick and I look at some of our favorite clips from cinema and television, clips which demonstrate some of the scams and schemes Joe Carrigan and I talk about on Hacking Humans. And we are thrilled to be joined once again by Tracy Mayleaf. She is a security researcher at the Krebs Stamos Group. And you may also know her on Twitter as InfoSec Sherpa. Tracy, great to have you back.
Thanks so much for having me back. I really enjoy this, and I love talking about the cross-section of information security in movies.
Welcome, Tracy. It's glad to have you on. This is fantastic.
All right, we've got some fun clips to share, so stay tuned. We'll be right back after this message from our show sponsor.
The start of the year is a great time to take that next step in your education, career, and beyond. Rely on N2K certification prep to provide the tools to help boost knowledge, skills, and confidence to get you there. And now, for a limited time, all N2K certification practice tests are 40% off. Visit n2k.com/certify and use promo code N2KVDAY. That's N2KVDAY to save 40% on your purchase. That's n2k.com/certify with promo code N2KVDAY. Offer ends Monday, February 19th. Happy learning.
All right, let's jump into our clips here. Rick, why don't you start things off for us?
Yeah, my clip this week comes from the 2004 movie Criminal, and directed by Gregory Jacobs, best known for producing the Tom Cruise movie Edge of Tomorrow. And he also did Magic Mike and Ocean's 12, so he's got that going for him. It stars John C. Reilly, famous for being a perennial that guy actor, but we all know him and love him in Wreck-It Ralph and Kong Skull Island, which I love, by the way, and Guardians of the Galaxy. I think
he's underrated. Like, I think because he plays so many oddball characters, people don't notice how good he is.
He really is. He was in Chicago, the musical, and he did the tap number Cellophane, which is just amazing, by the way. So, yeah, lots of versatility. And his co-star is Diego Luna. He's famous for the Disney TV show going on right now called Andor, and he was also in the Star Wars movie Rogue One. So in Criminal, Reilly is a veteran low-end street con artist, and he has taken Luna, who is a beginner, under his wing as kind of an apprentice. And the two of them, as well as Reilly's sister, played by Maggie Gyllenhaal, try to swindle a currency collector by selling him a counterfeit copy of an extremely rare currency bill. But in this first part, okay, we're just going to do a low-end con here. So in this series of clips, Reilly is teaching Luna the ropes. So let me set the scene. They are both walking the streets of Beverly Hills. Reilly is dressed like a typical businessman, gray suit, matching gray tie, blue shirt, not too fancy, but distinguished. And Luna is in casual clothes, and they don't look like they go together at all, right? And so they walk across the street, stop outside a small curbside cafe, and this is where we'll start. So roll the clip.
You ever been to Beverly Hills? No. It's a great place to work. All right, so go in here, order a soy latte to go.
Okay.
Pay with this, and come find me. All right?
Cool. What did your father do?
All right, stop there, Dave. All right, so here's what's going on. Reilly hands Luna a $100 bill, but before he does, he tears off a small corner of it and keeps it. And that's important for the con that will happen later. So fast forward to later in the day, and Reilly and Luna are eating at that same cafe. They have a long conversation about family, and then it's time to play the second part of the con. So roll it, Dave.
Have a good one, buddy.
Excuse me. Can I get my change, please?
What change, sir?
The change for the 100.
What 100?
I paid you 10 minutes ago with a $100 bill.
Sir, you didn't pay me.
Excuse me, Daniel, but maybe you got too many tables or something, but 10 minutes ago, I asked you if you could break 100, and you said yes.
Sir, I believe you're making a mistake.
Look, we're past the sir stage. I need to see the manager.
So there's no reason to get the manager
I don't want to talk
involved?
to you anymore. You understand what I'm saying? I want to talk to the manager so I can get my change and leave.
Okay, you didn't pay, so don't shout.
I don't want to shout, but I'm late. Now, I want to see the manager. Go get your boss. Don't be stupid.
Excuse me, is there a problem here?
Yes, this gentleman says that he paid.
No. I did pay you.
Well, there seems to be some sort of confusion.
No, there's no confusion. I had a cup of coffee, I had $200 bills, and now I have one. Oh, here. The corner's missing. So the bill I paid with must be missing the corner. Can you check the register and see if there's a $100 bill with the corner missing, please?
Yes, you come with me.
I'm not going anywhere. Get my change, please. I have to get out of here.
All right, stop it there, Dave. So I hope it's obvious what's going on here, right? Right after this, there's a quick scene change, and Riley and Luna are walking down the street. Riley pays Luna his share of the con. They just walked away with $100. So earlier, remember, Luna paid for some coffee with Riley's torn corner $100 bill.
Right.
And later, when he was raising the tension in the cafe, Riley told the manager that he paid the lunch bill with that torn collar $100 bill and asked the manager to verify it by looking in the cash register. That is brilliant, right?
So the manager goes to the cash register, and the $100 bill is in there as described.
Exactly, right? So
Yeah.
Riley walks away with a clean $100, and probably the manager paid for the lunch too. I'm not sure. That's not in the movie, but I'm guessing that's what happened, right? And as they're walking away, then Riley teaches Luna why the con worked. And that's why I like this clip, because he explains what he actually did. So roll this last part, Dave.
I knew that trick.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Did you ever try it?
No.
Why not?
It's too loud.
What?
You know, you have to make a whole scene.
That's the point. They're not interested in making a scene. That's the key, okay? The more offended you are, the less suspicious you look. You know, if things get sticky, you blame everybody else. Have you been paying attention?
Yeah, I just think it's too emotional, that's all.
That's it. So what do you guys think? Is that the con of the lifetime there?
Oh, that is up there, yeah, with the 3-card Monty display I saw in San Francisco once, where we saw who the plants were ahead of time.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I don't know if I know I told the story on some podcast, but yeah, my husband and I decided to sit. We couldn't find anywhere to sit near Fisherman's Wharf, so we found this trolley that was out of commission. And we were sitting there and we saw some other people in the trolley. And long story short, when we got up and started walking again, we saw them all together. One was doing the 3-card Monty, and we could tell that the other two were there. But the look that we got from them when we realized that we had clocked them, it was one of those, my husband like grabbed my arm tighter and he was like, just keep walking, like don't look back, don't look at them, keep walking. Cause it was kind of scary because it was like, oh, like we
they
totally
know,
caught
on. And you know, they know, you know.
So just like that, this was well orchestrated because they were talking ahead of time in the trolley. Like we couldn't hear what they were saying, but they clearly like were organizing something. So that this clip reminded me of that a lot of like, you know, there is a script, there's a routine, there's something to do. There's, you know, with John C. Reilly character, went in with an agenda, with a checklist of, you know, when to raise the voice, when to ask for the manager, when, you know, the whole we're beyond sir at this point. Like, that sounded like someone who was genuinely cheesed off about this.
What I like about this is it shows the small stakes. Okay, it's small time. He probably, you know, he's a professional veteran con man. So he probably does 5 or 6 of these things a day, just walking around different parts of the city. And that's how he makes his living. I just found that fascinating that would be a way to make your way in the world. Right.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, too, that how much he's relying on everyone else's emotional response, just by turning up the heat and turning it up and turning it up. And, when the manager comes, he doesn't let the heat go down. And so, the manager, at that point, the manager's job is to de-escalate so that it doesn't ruin it for everyone else at the restaurant. And so
I think it was
price?
telling. Yeah, you're right. And I think it was telling that, when they were walking away, he says, and this is sort of how he manages his life in the movie, too, when you watch the whole thing. Whenever there's a crisis, he blames everybody else and gets out of there. Okay, that's sort of his go-to move, right? So he does it professionally and personally.
Interesting.
And I do want to admit that I don't know what year this. I'm not familiar with this movie. I don't know what year it is, but
2004.
let's say
2004.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so probably even then, though, too. If this was something, if a white male character has to do that, basically,
right?
I was going to say that. I feel like a person of color wouldn't be able to do that because the first reaction would likely be to call the cops versus trying to negotiate.
I would call that. Let's flip it. Let's put Luna in the business suit. I think he might even have more success because he could be so affronted that they would accuse a non-white guy of trying to do something shady, right? That I think that would cause even more tension, right?
So you think a skilled con person could flip that on its head?
But only if they worked as a team. I don't think an individual person of color could be the primary character in the con.
Yeah.
But you're right, Rick. I think that if there was a team that could play off each other, then absolutely that would work. But
he would have to be dressed to the nines. He would have to be impeccable, all right, to pull that off, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complicated. But I just wanted to throw that in as these things are complicated and also very much depend on who the actors are, the threat actors of who can get away with it and who can't.
It seems such a simple con.
Clip.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
No, it's a fascinating clip, but I wonder also, you could probably get away with this once at each restaurant, right?
Right.
So,
or
this scam could only be pulled once at each restaurant. So, if he's making his way around the city, and if he's in New York or a big city, then there's plenty of restaurants to do this in. But I could imagine him being caught by someone saying, someone else, sorry, buddy, someone else has done this before. So
and wait staff, move around a lot. So the other thing would be, even in a place like New York City, I mean, there's also a chance that you could run into the same waiter at a different restaurant, 6 months later, and
it seems so obvious that the clip corner of the $100 bill. But since it was done earlier in the day, okay, and then they come back much later, like hours later, that's tough. We know because we saw it happen in the movie, right? But that's tough to explain in the heat of the moment when all that tension is riding. And you're right, Dave. That manager's job is to make it go away so none of the other patrons feel bad about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a big part of why it works, I guess, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, good stuff. It's a really interesting example there. Tracy, let's move on to your clip. What do you have for us this time?
Sure. I have a clip from the talented Mr. Ripley.
The good one.
Which is a, I'm not sure what year it was.
I think it's 1999.
99, yes. 99 film. And I actually just learned this looking into the movie again. It's actually based on a novel that was written in 1955 by Patricia Highsmith. And there was actually a series of a couple books, 5 or 6 books, with Tom Ripley as the character. So I thought that was interesting. So what I was explaining to the gentleman before we were on air is this is a very visual movie. So I was having a hard time finding a good clip of just talking that also wasn't too long. Because that was the other thing too, is I found some great clips, but there was a lot of non-vocal action in between. I was like, all right, this is going to be like a 20-minute clip. So let me set up this clip that I did want to bring. This is the very beginning of the film. This is within the first 5 minutes of the film. And the reason why I like this is Tom Ripley, the perpetrator, has a decision to make very quickly, whether or not to go all in or to retreat. And once you play the clip, you'll hear what I mean. And I just think that's the whole movie right there, is deciding like which way is this going to go. And the scene is he's playing piano on a rooftop in Manhattan. It's a lovely scene. Does take place, I guess, post-war, so I guess early 50s. And he is wearing a jacket with a Princeton emblem on it. And that's kind of what starts off this whole interaction.
All right, I'll play the clip.
Most enjoyable. Herbert Greenlee. My wife, Emily.
Thank you. Tom Ripley.
How do you do?
We're at Princeton. Most likely you'll know our son, Dick. Dickie Greenleaf.
I couldn't help noticing your jacket.
Yes.
Class of 56.
Was that the moment, Tracy? He decides?
Yeah, so if you listen carefully, the music will be your cue for that. And when you're watching it, you can see the wheels in his brain turning of which way to lean into this. And, and then we find out later that he borrowed the jacket from someone. He was filling in for the partner of the singer that we heard a little bit when the clip started. So what I like about this film, but after digging into it a little bit, I realized it doesn't really do a lot of background setting. So apparently this Tom Ripley, that was just kind of his MO, which he sort of admits to towards the very end of the film. But he was always kind of pulling these small time scams and things like that. That was just kind of his life, because he ran from playing piano and getting cash for the gig to, next thing you know, we see him at a very fancy restaurant being a butler, waiter, type of person. So it's been made very clearly that the jacket is not his, but in that moment he had to make a decision, right? Was he going to admit that he didn't have, that the jacket wasn't his? Was he going to to relate that? So that's why I thought it was really interesting, is because there was definitely a decision made there.
And you can see it on his face. And as you say, there's multiple ways he could have gone. He could have just said, "Oh, I went to Princeton, but I don't know your son." But he went even farther than that.
He goes all in. All in.
Exactly.
How's Dickie? Right.
He goes all in. So this film. So the reason why I feel like this is a good analogy for social engineering and information security, and where the InfoSec part comes in, is Tom Ripley's an APT. He is an advanced persistent threat, because he's playing the long game for this.
Because he doesn't have a specific target at that moment. He is
correct.
This is his initial entry into the space, because Ripley is not rich, right? He is he's a poor guy, and this is a very rich crowd. So this is his breaking into the initial host. This is a 0-day host right here.
Exactly. And it's not until Mr. Greenleaf, who introduced himself, who started all this off at the party, said, meet me at my construction site, and I have a job for you. And that's when it turns out, oh, well, I'm going to pay you $1,000 in early 1950s money, to go to Italy to retrieve my ne'er-do-well son. And it just but he keeps playing the long game, because then, spoiler alert, once he's in Italy, then he starts, writing back, oh, I need more money. Oh, this is going to cost some more. So that's why it not only is the social engineering, but this is very much how an APT would be on a network. Is it's going to kind of maybe a malicious actor accidentally falls into a network like this did. I mean, this opportunity literally landed in Tom Ripley's lap.
And like you said, it's a target of opportunity, right? He didn't go there looking, I need to get in here so I can steal this thing or to do this other thing. It's no, let me get established and I will live off the land, basically. I really like that idea.
Yeah. It's just, it speaks volumes to me about how, we talk about script kiddies doing things and stuff like that. This fell into his lap and then he made something malicious out of it. So that's very much an analogy for what's happening and how long it lasted, how long he was able to pull this off. And then at some point he even actually had Dickie Greenleaf assisting him. So again, that could talk to insider threat, within an enterprise network, or and Dickie Greenleaf thought that they were just scamming his father, but Tom Ripley had all these more grandiose plans, because there's a really good quote at the end of the film by Tom Ripley. He said, "I always thought it would be better to be a fake somebody than a real nobody."
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And
wow.
if that isn't, threat actors, what is?
That's dark. That is dark right there. Oh man.
It struck me too. I was watching a little bit of the clip around this clip that you provided for us. And when Mr. Greenleaf is heading to his car with his wife after the performance, he says, well, what an exceptional young man, And so, in a way, to me, it kind of points to something you pointed out earlier, which is that part of him being successful in this was who he was. He was a clean-cut, good-looking, young white man. Had he been something different, particularly you think back to the 1950s, had he been a young black man or a young woman or whatever, he wouldn't have had the opportunity. The other people wouldn't have made so many assumptions about him without him having to explain himself merely by the fact that he was wearing a Princeton jacket.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. If it was a young black man, it could have easily been like, where did you get that jacket?
It would have gone the other way.
Yeah, exactly. And I also feel, though, this movie, this type of social engineering is very much of its time. Like, today with technology, we'd be able to figure out it would be a 5-minute movie, right? Right. So I think if you watch this for the first time and you're very skeptical of it, you really need to put your mindset into what was technology like at the time, which, there wasn't that much of it, and what were social, mores at the time of, it's any connection to connect. Oh, Princeton. Oh, we're part of this same Princeton tribe as well. We want to show off.
Well, I know what you're saying though, Tracy, because we were my family and I were talking about how most of the horror movies you watch these days would be solved if you just got to use your cell phone.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Well, there's this one episode of Seinfeld that's classic, but it would be 1 minute long today. Yeah. It was when they were going back and forth between JFK and LaGuardia. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, like that this would be like a 1 minute episode, if that, So sometimes when you watch these things, you have to really think about like, okay, well, without phones, without all this, and sometimes you wonder like, well, how can people be so easily fooled? Well, they see what they want to see. This guy was all in angst that his son is just being a playboy in Italy. And now he's like, oh, I can trust him. He's a Princeton man. So I think this just speaks a lot to a lot of InfoSec things we talk about, about assuming things, good or bad. Like the time when I was a SOC analyst and I accidentally blocked all the Google IPs for the offices in a certain country because I thought they were hostile.
Sure,
and
as you do.
As you do. And about 10, 15 minutes after I did it, my manager very just calmly turned to me and he said, Tracy, any reason why the offices in blank country can't get to their Gmail right now? I'm like, Yep. There's a reason. Man.
I was going to ask you how long it took them to notice.
Fortunately, it was only like 10 to 15 minutes. And that's when I learned a very valuable lesson about, don't make assumptions about indicators of compromise. Yeah. So,
Wow.
so people,
Yeah.
like I said, so people believe what they want to believe, and the Greenleafs wanted to believe that Tom Ripley, was an upstanding, fine individual from Princeton, and therefore entrusted him with this journey to go retrieve their son.
Yeah. All right. Well, great clips this time, everybody. Thanks so much. And Tracy, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure
Trace.
to have you here. If folks want to follow you online, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm available on Twitter at InfoSecSherpa. And if you look at my profile, I have a link tree there, and where you can see a lot of my talks or interviews I've given, or other podcasts that I've been on. So I will add this one to my link tree when it's ready.
And by the way, InfoSec Sherpa is the greatest hacker name of all time. Okay, so
thank you. Your guide up a mountain of information.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, again, Tracy Mayleaf, she is a security researcher at the Krebs Stamos Group. And, of course, Rick Howard is my colleague here at the CyberWire. Everybody, thanks so much for joining us this time around. This was great fun. We'll have to do it again.
You bet.
Thanks.
We want to thank the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute for their participation. You can learn more at isi.jhu.edu. The Hacking Humans podcast is proudly produced in Maryland at the startup studios of Data Tribe, where they're co-building the next generation of cybersecurity teams and technologies. Our senior producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Peter Kilpie. I'm Dave Bittner.
And I'm Rick Howard.
And I'm Tracy Mayleaf.
Thanks for listening.